this. It had a sound issue, but I'm going to do it again. But it's going to be a tutorial on how to make high quality procedural noise with free tools. So you're going to need Gimp, which is free, and you're going to need this plugin, Felimage Noise for Gimp, which is also free, but you will have to look up how to install it as a plugin into Gimp. So once you have those two things, you're going to go into Gimp, you're going to make a new, for me, I've been making 4K noise, so I'm going to do 4000 by 4000 pixels. Alright, once you've done that, you're going to come down here and you're going to create 3 layer groups. Perfect. And we're going to name these red, green, and blue. And in these groups, we're going to create 2 layers each. We'll call them multiply and noise. Noise goes under multiply. That's important. There. Actually, we'll do it like this. Then it'll order them properly. New layer, multiply. Great. New layer, noise. New layer, multiply. Okay, so now you're going to go to your modes. So blue will be normal. All the layers that say multiply will be multiply. All the noise layers are normal. The green and red layers, or assuming you ordered them in this order, green and red layers will be addition. So addition, addition, multiply. Great. Okay. So the next step, you're going to come over here. We're going to grab 100% red with no additives, and we'll fill our multiply layer underneath red with that color, and then we'll come over here. You can probably guess 100% green. Fill our multiply layer under green. Next, 100% blue. Okay. Fill our multiply layer under blue. And we're going to turn our background off here. Okay. So, once you've got these done, you're going to want to save this right here as a template. So you can save it. I would save it as something along the lines of RBG noise template 4000 by 4000, which I already have one saved, so don't worry about that. But you would want to save this as a noise template, indicating like what the dimensions are, at least, so that you know what kind of noise you're going to use it to build. Oops, I saved it as untitled, but that's okay. So now, the next part. So I was working on a series of filters, and I've done a bunch with a 0.5 Hertz exponent, which is kind of like the smoothing. But now I want to do some lower smoothing passes. So I'm going to go ahead and start from scratch. I'll come over here. We'll start at 10. Oh, whoops. Before you do your noise, it uses the colors that are set over here, so you have to set this back to black. Alright, reshow noise. Here we go. So what we want to do is set the size of the noise we want to do. These settings are what I want. The 0.05 Hertz exponent is the lower one that I was talking about. You come over here to output. This is where you can control your tiling method. You have planar, which you probably won't want to use most of the time. It would be tileable planar if you were going to do things for planar surfaces. And you have spherical, which is what I'm using this for. So this will do all the unwrapping to a sphere for you, which is really nice. So once you have all this stuff set up, we're good. So we go ahead and hit OK. And the plugin will start rendering our noise. Now keep in mind this is a 4K by 4K image. It's pretty big. It goes up, the amount of time it takes to render goes up exponentially the bigger your images are. I've done some 8K versions of this. It takes an absolute massive amount of time to do 8K images. So I would suggest pulling up like a video or a movie or a TV show you want to binge or a video game you like to play, maybe like some Magic the Gathering or something on the second monitor. Then you can come over here and you just click a couple buttons each time. You get to wait for it to render and then wait for it to export and wait for it to post-process and all that good stuff. And so I think that it makes a lot of sense to just do this while you're doing something else. It doesn't take a ton of attention to create these, and the end result is really good. Okay, so our noise is about done rendering. After the noise is done rendering, we'll go to each of the other noise layers and we'll render more noise, but you have to change the seed each time. You want it to be a different cloud of noise. So if we turn these off, we can see that this is what we got out of that pass. So turn these back on, we'll come down here, filters, reshow noise, and all you got to do now is randomize, and you can pick, you can either click this button twice and it will make a new one, or you can unlock it and then you can spam different seeds. But you just need a different seed, so we'll go ahead and start it up. And then once this one finishes, we'll do the bottom one. We'll show you how to color correct it and export it, the naming conventions that I've been using for export, and the color correction once you have your whole library in hand. So this kind of data, these images that we're building here, are extremely useful for procedural materials in various game engines. You can use these to do all kinds of really neat effects that are randomizable and just very useful. Like I've used these type of textures to make planets, to make stars, and like sky spheres with nebulas. You could do clouds, like normal clouds in the sky sphere. All kinds of stuff you can do with this. You can even animate clouds with this. Okay, so we get this again. We new seed it. Now we get the last one rendering. And once this one's finished, we will create a new layer from visible to capture all of it into like one compressed layer. And then usually you want to run colors stretch contrast on it to kind of make sure that you're using the full range of values that you can use. Usually when you use these in materials, you're doing all kind of mathematical modifications and such to them, so you're really having them fill the whole numeric range of the colors they can be is very good. It helps us standardize them. So as soon as this one's finished rendering, we'll see the combined view come up. And this is what I mean by it's just a waiting game. For 4K, It's not too bad. For AK, this step takes like 15 minutes. Alright, so voila, now we have a blended RBG texture. So we're going to go ahead and new layer from visible. You can also do it over here. And we'll drag that up to the very top so that that's what we're looking at. And then the last thing you want to do, and you want to do this for everything before you export it, is you are going to come down here to auto and go to stretch contrast. This makes it oh, there goes the puppers. This makes it I mean, it stretches the contrast between the available bounds of the range. So save. So now once you have that, you can go ahead and export this noise. And you'll see the naming convention I've been following. So this is lattice noise. We have 5 luminosity, and we have 0.05 Hurst exponent. These are just the settings that I used in the noise plugin to generate this, so that if I needed to recreate it, I could. And this is 10 by 10, so 10x10. The noise itself is 10 by 10. So you see I already have 0.5 Hurst, which is our smoothing coefficient, by the way. So this is like that, but with more grainy noise, basically. So we'll go ahead and export. This is going to generate a noise in my folder. And you want to do these. It really depends on what your use case is for the noise that you need to generate. But like in my case, I'm using them to generate nebulas and planets and such, so I want like a large library of high quality noise. And so what I've been doing is 10, 20, 40, 80, 160, 320, 640, and 1280. As far as the so like if I reshowed recent filters noise, so if I reshowed this, what I mean by that is that the next one that I would do would be 20 width here. You can also unbind these if you needed like stretched horizontal noise, which is good for like a gas giant. So the next one I did would be 20 by 20. But that would be kind of redundant for me to go through this whole process again. So what I really want to show you is the last part. The last thing you need to do with these files. And normally I do this after I've rendered all the files I want. It can't always be all the files, but you do need to remember how you did this, like, and I'll show you. So when you're all done and you want to finish these off, you need to color correct them, because the output of these will not have the same luminosity levels, because the different types of noise have different outputs. So you don't want to deal with that in a material, because if one image has very low values, the other has very high values, then it throws off all your, like, you can't, if you 50-50 warped between them, for instance, the high value picture would dominate the low value picture, even though it was only a 50-50 blend. So what I'll do to show the last step that I do in this process is I'll grab 2 that I've already made. Okay, this is a very good example because you can very easily see that this is a much darker image than this is. They're different kinds of noise, they have different outputs and different intensities. So what we want to do is come into here and we go to curves, and what you're going to do is envision this, like you want to pick one of these lines. So let's say this line. So I'm going to take this piece of the curve and I'm going to move it so that my curve line intersects the start of the color pile. I don't know what you call this, but like this part at the one line up so that I have a baseline, right? And then up top, that's a little too high. So you decide how wide you want this thing to be, right? So let's say we want it to be, and you do have to kind of use your good senses here. So I'm gonna say we'll do 2 down here. So we intersect 1 up and 2 down. You can also change this, but that's not what you want. All right, so we can see, and if I don't want, like, you can, like, maybe I decide this is too dark. Maybe I want to do 2 up, 2 down, right? Which would brighten everything up a little bit. So I'll intersect 2 up, 2 down with the color pile, the pile of colors. Hit OK. Okay. So now the trick is, I come over here, colors. So the trick here with these is each one is different. Like you could tell this one is very close to white. So you can see how intense this is. So we still want to intersect with 2, right? And we still want to intersect with 2. All right. So look at that. So we'll go ahead and do that. We could maybe even take this up a little bit more. And you, like, some of it is going to be feel, like what looks good, but that should look pretty good. You want them in ballpark, though. Alright, so now if I go between these two, it seems like the color range is much closer. There's not as, it's like this one, it would not overwhelm this one anymore. So I normally do this as like a long process at the very end when I'm done rendering all the noise that I want. I go in and I do this, and usually like 2 up, 2 down on the histogram scale is pretty good for my purposes. So once you've generated your high res noise, you've color corrected it, you've exported it, and then you've grabbed all your exported PNGs and you've adjusted all the curves of them, at that point you have a noise library and you can do all kinds of cool procedural fun stuff in game engines and material development with it. And that's it for this piece. I will probably at some point when I finish this library, it takes a while, be going back to my project and doing another tutorial on how to use these to set up like a different types of materials, how to use these to generate, you know, a sky sphere, a planet, a star. But the key building block are these textures right here. And that's it.